Good evening, y'all. If anyone's out there, if you let me know if we can hear me tonight. I know I've had some trouble in the past with my mic. I'm hoping I'm not having that tonight. Got a lot to talk about. Don't want to have to start and stop again. Well, let's see here. Can anyone hear me? Anyone out there hear me by chance? All right. Can anybody hear me? Anybody out there hear me? Hopefully so. Is the mic working? All right. Well, hopefully it is. Hopefully someone let me know real quick if they hear me. If not, what a waste. All right. So, y'all, this is the Hillbilly Think Tank, and I am Spencer Keck coming at you live from here in Tunnel Hills of Hardin County, Kentucky. And I am the Hillbilly Think Tank. That is the educated hillbilly. And no, that's not an oxymoron. Don't call me a moron. Y'all, here in Hardin County, we know that we are dedicated to the promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I am dedicated to service with honor. Nothing brings me more pleasure than to love my neighbors as myself and to serve all of my neighbors. So, who is my neighbor? I think we all learned the lesson to that question years ago. But, as this war continues in Iran and Diaper Dan continues chewing on his hubris, just like a dog chews on a dry old bone when it's starving, doesn't know when to stop, doesn't know there's no nourishment in that dry bone. Hubris won't let you ever quit gnawing on a dead bone that has no nourishment in it. That's what Diaper Dan's doing, y'all. You know, I just want to remind us that this is a war of choice. And a war of choice is not any good if you want allies, right? We were at the negotiation table with Iran when we attacked them. Does no one remember the history in the 40s when Japan had sent a diplomatic negotiator over to DC to negotiate with us? And right at the same time, they were planning to send their bombers to attack the United States at Pearl Harbor and at Kelly Field. Do you remember the infamy of that day, which would live forever? That was all it took to bring us into the war, was having someone pretend that they were negotiating with us for peace and then attack us. And they attacked us quickly, mightily, and horribly. But all that did was wake a sleeping giant. Does no one study history at all in that administration? Yes, I am a veteran there. Shannon Morgan, I absolutely am a veteran. I'm a veteran of combat. 2 wars to be exact. All right, so as I was saying, do any of us remember the fact that when we were attacked by the Japanese, we had been negotiating with them, and how dastardly it was for us to be attacked by people that were at a negotiation table with us. So, if we didn't like it when the Japanese did that, are we at all surprised when Iran says, hey, they're not going to come back to the negotiation table? the last 2 times they were at the negotiation table with us, we attacked them. Once would be enough for most people. Once was enough for us. When the Japanese attacked us, that was it. It was full on with us. And we were not going to stop until we had won, until we did win, along with our allies. So now, Captain Bone Spurs was told, y'all, that Iran would close up the Strait of Hormuz if we attacked them. He was warned and cautioned that it would be a fool's folly to do this attack in the Strait of Hormuz and on Iran. But he did it anyway. He is so full of his own self-proclaimed master negotiator status that is his hubris that led us into this position that we're in now, where just today I went through Hardin County on my way to work, went through Radcliffe, gas was $3.40 something. On the way back, $3.79. So he's so full of his hubris, he thought that they would say chicken and that he could just go on ahead and damn the odds, damn all the military intelligence that told him not to do this, that it would be something that Iran would not stop from. No, this would not stop them. And they would be unstoppable for a long time. And yet he did it anyway. He also forgets that one of the biggest parts of being an ally and a trading partner is that you stay very friendly with your allies, especially when they're also your trading partners. And that's what the North Atlantic Trade Organization is. So our trading partners and our allies, most of which is now the European Union, we're not supposed to do anything unfriendly to our trading partners. What have we been doing for the last few months? We have been acting very, very, very unfriendly towards our trading partners in Europe, towards the European Union. Slapping tariffs on them, slapping tariffs on South Korea, who is a trading partner and an ally, although not part of NATO. We also have slapped tariffs on Japan, even though they're one of our strongest allies. And they were our best trading partner until we decided to do all of our trading primarily with China. So all of our allies, all of our trade partners, we've been slapping tariffs on them left and right. And then he actually expects these folks that we have been taunting, bullying, to now come to our rescue. He doesn't realize the other part of being an ally is you don't attack anyone unprovoked. You don't expect your allies to come to your rescue if you attack some folks unprovoked, and especially if you don't plan it with your allies. So without planning it with our allies, with NATO, he now expects NATO to come to our rescue after we kick the hornet's nest. He expects us to find NATO fighting the hornets with us. That's ludicrous. He's done nothing but bully the European Union, bully anybody we trade with around the world, and he expects them now to come rescue us. He expects our enemy, China, who's also a trading partner, but not an ally, to come and be our ally in the Strait of Hormuz, to send in their warships. Really? They've got better things to do in Taiwan. They'd rather take over Taiwan than take over the Strait of Hormuz. Does this guy not have any advisors that he will listen to? Now, we know that when he was President 45, he had plenty of people who knew how to handle him. But all those handlers are gone. All he has is sycophants and yes men, people who are just all over his knob. Well, here's what we got. So let's go see what some of those folks have to say now, right? Because you're supposed, if you want your allies to have your back and your trade partners to have your back, you got to be on friendly terms with them. You can't go shitting on them. And that's all we've been doing. And now this crybaby expects the allies to forget about it and come to his aid. They came to our aid in Afghanistan after we were attacked. Gladly and quickly and readily. I know, because I saw it. I was on deployment when the attack happened. First one into Afghanistan. They did not buy into George Bush's yellow cake lie and run with us into Iraq, but they were with us in Afghanistan all the way. So let's listen to them now. Here's what they have to say.
I want to bring in CTV's military analyst, retired Major General David Fraser, to pick up. Good morning to you, Major General. So let's start there, because I think that there has been some confusion, and maybe Besant was trying to clear it up as to why Trump was saying to China, you know, if you don't help out with this Strait of Hormuz situation, this logjam with tankers getting through, I'm not going to come for a visit. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it's consistent with the threat to NATO for not coming into the Strait of Hormuz, and for the nations, including Japan and South Korea, to send assets over there to start getting the traffic flowing through. I think what we're seeing now is a shift from the military operations into the realm of diplomacy and politics. And so far, it has not gone very well for the United States. You know, the Prime Minister of Great Britain stood up today and talked about what the priorities are: support their people and their assets and the people at home because of higher prices. But I think the president is finding some difficulty getting people to come and start working with them.
Imagine that. The president is having trouble finding people to come start working with him after he's been shitting all over the world for a whole fucking year. Now he expects us and everyone else to think, oh yeah, you're doing a great job. Let me run in and help you. The only person he hasn't shit on is Putin and Netanyahu, of course, because that's why we're there. All right, Shannon Morgan. Hey, I'm glad your grandpa's a veteran. Wonder where he served, who he was with. And definitely tell him I thank him for his service. All right, who else we got here? Ritualistic, laughing out loud. Shannon says, have a good day, sir. Same there to you, Shannon Morgan. Ritualistic, playing golf and starting wars to cover up his Epstein involvement. And that's all there is to it. And the world is not interested in helping him cover up the Epstein involvement by sacrificing their citizens. I mean, he just can't get it. Trash Channel 1970. Taco, Trump always chickens out. Yep, you've got it. Absolutely. Just, yep. We can't say it better, right? Ritualistic. The art of the deal, right? Man, he's so sure but he has mastered that art of the deal. But all he's mastered is hubris. Yep. The hubris is absolutely astonishing. Well, more than astonishing, it's now terrifying to believe your own arrogance. Tom says, at this point, wouldn't be but so big a surprise if NATO were to kick us out. Same with the United Nations, if it wasn't for a bureaucratic labyrinth involved in pushing us out. Yeah. Absolutely, unfortunately. Well, let's go look at what they have to say over in England a little bit more. Okay, we know China is just laughing all the way to the bank right now because we're doing nothing but helping BRICS. That's their main trading partners: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and we can't forget our greatest trading partner that this president loves, because he wants to make that South American country great again. It starts with an A. Ah, boy. Let's see. Copycat says he has mastered the art of delusionary thinking. Yes, he has. All right, let's go see another little clip here real quick. So we know that he has demanded the Allies help in the Straits of Hormuz. They've got absolutely no interest in it. And let's hear what they say, why exactly they have no interest in it, even though he thinks they should.
So let's dig down on the NATO aspect of this and Trump's warning that it's not going to go well for those countries that don't come on side and help the U.S. What obligation does NATO have? Do you think that NATO will get involved, Major General?
Well, in a word, none. This got nothing to do with NATO, notwithstanding that there are NATO nations that have an interest there. And I think that was the point that, the Germans said today, where they said, it will have to be under a different umbrella. And notwithstanding that NATO has a lot of assets that could be useful there, the diplomacy to bring countries in there is being very sticky because these countries do not want an escalatory war when they don't even know what the objectives or what the ties are to the ask. But in a short word, there has been no requirement for NATO to get in there.
The key. So the key word is no clear objective. Now, since World War I and World War II, there's been a clear understanding that large nations do not attack smaller nations unprovoked. And that if you want your large allies of NATO to defend one another, we'll only do it if we're not provoking smaller nations. That's just the way it is. So when France wanted to take over Indochina, we didn't get involved at first, not until they lost, and then we wanted Indochina. But we didn't pull NATO into helping us when we decided to go into Indochina, which we later called Vietnam. France wasn't able to pull us into helping. Matter of fact, we tried to subvert their goals in Indochina. So there's a clear understanding, like I said, that an ally will not attack another nation unprovoked. Allies defend each other from unprovoked attacks. And like I said, I fought alongside NATO troops from Britain, France, just name the NATO countries. Italy was there. Name so many more. They were with us and they were on the front lines, regardless of what our Captain Bonespurs would have us believe. All right. But again, Dementia Don, this Diaper Dan dickhead, he has bullied his European allies bullied South Korea, bullied Japan. No one's coming to his aid. And he thinks now he's going to get our enemy, China, to come to our aid? Really? They're our enemies to begin with. They're our trading partners, but also our enemies. They have no reason now to come to our aid with all the massive tariffs that we have on them. So, what is his real plan? Does he have one? Is there any objective that we can name and point to? Not that I see.
Global interest to make sure that the oil flows.
And yes, President Trump now wants further help in keeping the Strait of Hormuz open, but the UK is not committing to sending Royal Navy ships. Listen to this, the president publicly calling on Sir Keir Starmer to be more decisive.
Prime Minister of UK, United Kingdom, yesterday told me, I'm meeting with my team to make a determination. I said, you don't need to meet it with the team. You're the Prime Minister. You can make your own. Why do you have to meet with your team to find out whether or not you're going to send some minesweepers to us or to send some boats?
And having said it once this afternoon, he said it again this evening.
The UK, which was sort of considered the Rolls Royce of allies, right? When you say they were the oldest and they were going to be there. And I say it would be really helpful if you'd send over a couple of ships. And if you have some minesweepers, which they do, be very helpful. And the Prime Minister is a nice man. I think he's a very nice guy. He says, well, I'd like to ask my team.
So what is the UK willing to do? I asked that exact question of the Prime Minister this morning, before those remarks from the President we've just heard. You say the UK won't be drawn into the wider war, but you're willing to be part of what you described as a viable collective plan to keep the Straits of Hormuz open. What is the UK willing to do in specific terms?
We've been discussing this with partners, including European partners, Gulf partners, and the US. We need to look at the options. We've already got autonomous mine hunting systems in the regions.
And would he consider further support for families here facing eye-watering fuel bills?
I'm not going to stand here and pretend to you that we all know what the situation will be in the 3 or 6 months' time. We don't.
In other words, the Prime Minister, like the rest of us, doesn't know how or when this war will end and with what consequence between now and then. Chris,
All right. So they don't know when it's going to end. We don't know when it's going to end. We do know that we are absolutely up to our eyeballs in horseshit and hubris, right? So that is where we're at now. Now, let's see, copycats. What are we saying here tonight? Spencer, can you please explain what the big deal is about Kegsbreath saying we'll give them no quarter? I guess I don't really understand what that means. So, can't remember if I talked about this last night or not, but yes, when Captain Whiskey Pete Kegsbreath says give no quarter, he means if you have won a battle and the enemy is surrendering, kill them. Don't take any prisoners. He is telling the troops to violate the Geneva Convention. That is absolutely a war crime. He is commanding the troops to commit war crimes. This is the whole thing that Senator Kelly warned the troops about. And that's why he sent Senator Kelly, tried to send him to court, tried to court-martial a sitting senator who was also a retired Navy captain. That's only one rank below an admiral. He is commanding all active duty troops to kill prisoners of war. That's what no quarter means. Kill them, everyone, and don't take prisoners. That absolutely flies in the face of everything that we signed an agreement upon with the Geneva Convention. We tried and prosecuted the Japanese for this and the Germans. And yet here we are with another hubris dick telling American troops to commit a war crime. All right. Who else we got here? What else we got here tonight? The better weather. NATO doesn't cover the Middle East. None of the articles cover assisting with an attack either way. Well, that's a good point. Although NATO did come to our aid after we were attacked by terrorists in Afghanistan. They came to our aid then, but they refused to in Iraq because that wasn't something that was part of the problem that that we had encountered when they brought the towers down and attacked the Pentagon. That was an excursion. All right, we know that now. We know that we were lied to about weapons of mass destruction. All right, Tom says, I get that NATO doesn't cover the Middle East, but the U.S. actions attacking Iran for no good reason still seem like something the rest of NATO would find objectionable. And absolutely, they're completely unwilling, as we saw with those clips, of going in and doing the dirty work for us when we attacked some folks that had not attacked us. That's why I'm saying I expect a false flag operation any moment now. So now I'm not the only one saying this. Coffee Cats. Oh, wow. That's really awful. Not wonder everyone's upset about the no quarter thing. That's right. The better way, the better weather. They should. They're all being negatively impacted. Yes, they are. And that's what Britain was just saying in that clip. Their own people in Europe, the British commoners are telling him, hey, we need some assistance now for our electric and fuel, all of the costs that we're incurring due to the increased prices of petroleum. Yep, Coffee Cats. Hopefully I did a good job there of explaining. So y'all, now, this isn't the only thing he's planning on doing when it comes to foreign wars. So let's check out one more video before I got one last thing and I'll wind it down here for a second. But he's got another war he's planning right now. Let's listen to it. Check it out. It will drive you bonkers. Sorry.
Very violent leaders. Castro was a very violent leader. His brother's a very violent leader. Extremely violent.
Hi, Officer.
That's how they governed. They governed with violence. But a lot of people would like to go back. But I think Cuba's the end. All my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. Whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation right now. They were for a long time. Very violent leaders. Castro was a very violent leader. His brother's a very violent leader. Extremely violent. That's how they governed. They governed with violence. But a lot of people would like to go back. But I think Cuba's the end.
So there we go. Another example of absolute hubris. I think I'll be the one to take Cuba. Motherfucker, you didn't even get a boots on to go to Vietnam. And you're going to goddamn take Cuba? Really? Your bone spurs have healed now? You're going to be the one to do it, huh? Old Diaper Don, Captain Bone Spurs. Yeah. If you don't know, I didn't bring the clip up because I had too many clips tonight. But right now, Cuba is under complete blackout. Their power grid has failed because they have no fuel due to, our sanctions. They're working. They're all without power. Their hospitals are not able to run their ventilators. Yep, we've got them down. So it's working. Tom says, Cuba ruled with violence? And what the hell is ICE doing? Why, thank you, brother, because you're leading into the segue of where I'm headed next for tonight. All right. Let's see. Copycats, the irony of this president calling others violent. There we go. Pinnacle depth. Cuba got Wisconsin blow dried. Yeah, that's for sure. All right, guys. So I have a request from a friend of mine in Memphis to play a video, right? So that none of us forget that Memphis wants us to remember that out of the mouth of babies and infants, you have established strength because of your foes to still the enemy and the avenger. Now, the young adults at a school there want us to know that ICE is still brutalizing their community. Day in, day out. It's not stopping just because no one is reporting it. So these youth want us to know that loving their neighbor as themselves is not a joke to them. It is something they take very seriously. So here is a video that was sent to me by Memphis. And this is young folks standing up and saying they love their neighbors as themselves. They are their brother's keeper. They are their sister's keeper. So, y'all, yeah, again, like Tom said, right? Cuba ruled with violence. And what the hell is ICE doing? Copycats, the irony of this president calling others violent. Cuba got Wisconsin blow dried. Yeah, and sadly, it looks like, well, I've got a lot of my students are Cuban asylum seekers. And many of them now are being told by this administration that they have no more status as asylum seekers, and they're being told that they need to self-deport. So, yeah. Tom saying, I'm wishing I hadn't done a web search on that expression. We got someone on here. Jim Smith, are you a Jew? We got some trolls tonight. That's awesome. So, y'all, yeah, I am a combat veteran. I'm a father. I'm a teacher. I'm a person who has seen the cost of war firsthand. And I've seen it secondhand when my brother lost his leg and hand in Afghanistan. So, Jim, go on ahead and try to bait me. That's okay. My dead brother, who my dad found hanging in the closet 4.5 years after he lost his leg and hand in Afghanistan. Yeah. That flag behind me is not the Jewish flag. That flag behind me is the flag of General Sherman. So if you think that an American flag is a Jewish flag, you got something else coming. That's the battle flag of General Sherman. So, yeah, You don't know how to recognize the American flag from a flag of Israel? Yeah. You know, my dad died only the next year, 2014, right before I retired from the military. My brother died. My dad found him hanging in the closet. The next year, my dad had cancer from Agent Orange. From 2015, from 2014, buried my brother in Arlington National Cemetery there, Jim. And in 2015, I had to go to Lexington, Kentucky, because the VA wanted to pull the plug on my dad after he got cancer the second time. So I had to go with my family, tears in our eyes, bury 2 combat veterans who died from their wounds, but not right on the battlefield, only after the battlefield. I was in combat. As soon as the attack happened, my Marine Expeditionary Unit went into Pakistan and Afghanistan. So, Jim, going ahead and mock me some more. That's fine, Jim. But I proudly fly an American flag behind me. All right, we've got someone saying Sherman, a true trailblazer. Yeah, yep. Yeah, you go ahead, Jim. That flag can be Jewish to you now if you want. I guess we know. Yeah. So, copycats. Isn't he the one who burned Atlanta? So, General Sherman is the one who made a general field order. After he took over Savannah, Atlanta, and Georgia, he knew that the only way that brother would quit killing brothers was if the plantation owners were brought to their knees. So he made a general field order that said every freed slave on the Georgia coast would be given 40 acres and 1 mule apiece. That the plantations that they had been tortured on and worked on for hundreds of years would now be theirs. So they were each given 40 acres and 1 mule. How long did that last? Only as long as Reconstruction lasted. Soon as the Reconstruction soldiers were pulled out of Georgia, all that land was taken back from those folks who had been slaves on it, but had then become owners of it. It was taken back and it was given back to the plantation owners to then start slavery all over again. But this time they just called it something different. They called it sharecropping. So, all right, I've got someone here who says, Jim, there's not enough back paddling you can do at this point. Well, Jim, I hope my brothers can find peace and I hope my dad can find peace. But until then, I'm going to stand up for loving my neighbor as myself. I'm going to keep on serving my county and my state with honor and with dignity. Loving every one of my neighbors. I don't care who they are, as long as they're not a hater. I don't care if they're fellow Christians, if they're atheists, if they're Jews, Muslims, Hare Krishners. I don't care. All I care is, do they love their children with everything in their soul? Do they take care of their kids every day? Do they work hard to feed those kids, to clothe those kids, to educate those kids? If they do, I'll back them up with every fiber in my body. And that's what I am here to tell you. If you elect me as magistrate here in District 3, Hardin County, I will serve you no matter who you are. But I will not forget what veterans like myself sacrificed and how many generations in my family have sacrificed themselves from French and Indian Wars to the Revolutionary War, to you name it. If there's been a war, my family has been a part of it. But it's high time that we recognize that there are two justice systems in America. One justice system for the Epstein class and another justice system for us. And we've all got to come together, whether we're left or right or in the middle, and say enough is enough. It's for the working class, for the middle class, for the poor, yes. But for the elite that think they can get away with anything and distract us with a war like this that they have no plan for, yeah, I'm not falling for it. So no matter how much Netanyahu wants this war, no matter much Diaper Don, Mr. Captain Bone Spurs wants this war, I'm not buying it. I don't want to see any more folks sacrificed to cover up the Epstein files. All right, y'all. Remember, here in Hardin County, we know that united we stand, divided we fall. That's Kentucky's motto. That's on our flag. I look at it every day. And we know that there are voices that would pit us one against the other. But here in Hardin County, we know in order to build a community, we have to have a strong vision for our county's future. A strong county makes a strong state. We know that our regular folks like us here in Hardin County, we pay our taxes, we work hard, and we love our neighbors as ourselves. You know, all that well-adjusted stuff that our papaws and mamas taught us. And they passed it on to our parents, who passed it on to us, unlike the Epstein class. So please like and subscribe to this channel. Vote for me for Hardin County Magistrate, District 3. Bless your corazon. And remember everyone deployed overseas right now. Thank every one of you for coming on and listening to me ramble. Hope you have a great evening.